This video is sponsored by Ground News. Stick around to hear more about the service they offer and the discount they are providing to the entire upper echelon community. All right, today's video is the continuation of a topic I've been working on for quite a long time, and that topic is disinformation. Actually, beyond that, the words disinformation or misinformation have now become politically charged and fail to communicate the proper scope of the matter, but regardless. Beyond that, I want to discuss what seems to be the dawning new online age, if you will, of deception. The age of deception for a lot of people carries a biblical context. I don't mean to convey that same connotation here, but I also don't mean to dispute it. The all-encompassing phrase age of deception, for me, simply refers to the true scope of the problem and showcases just how far the issue is about to spread. In the past, I warned about something that I've now come to refer to as the deepfake inflection point. Briefly explaining that term, the inflection point of a curve is the exact moment when the angle changes from concave to convex, but the similarity I see now is that the deepfake inflection point will be the precise moment when images, faces, or even videos online can no longer be trusted by the naked human eye, and that inflection point is very close at hand. For thousands of years of human evolution, sight was the ultimate determining factor. Sure, there were disinformation campaigns on a certain scale, such as the use of inflatable tanks in World War II, creating a show of force that didn't really exist with devastating impact. Yes, images and visual proof can and have been faked, forged, or manufactured in the past in selective situations, but never before has the capability to realistically fabricate images, video, and audio been a widespread commercial norm. Today, however, the ability to create realistic but fabricated imagery with the click of a mouse is quite normal. See, every advancing consecutive moment, the AI that you currently are able to use is likely the worst version of AI that you will ever use from here forward. How? Because every advancing consecutive moment, AI gets better. Audio, visual, generative, etc. All of it is building upon itself. Now, that's useful for artists and photographers and especially YouTube thumbnails, but how does it contribute to the age of deception? This is how. To be clear, YouTube community guidelines exist in such a way where I will be censoring the entirety of what was said and what was shown for shocking imagery. But this right here is a post from Ben Shapiro about atrocities committed recently in Israel. I make no comment on Shapiro as a person or his politics. I use this example for obvious reasons having to do with relative reach, scope, and the implications of AI. The image itself was seen some 16 million times, but it led to a quintessential exchange demonstrating the problems we are about to face at scale. In response to this post, a verified profile named Jackson Hinkle, claiming in his bio at least to be exposing propagandists, stated that the image was created using generative AI. He said this as the result of using an AI detection tool called AI or Not, operated by a company called Optic, and this led to a further exchange where the two internet personalities called each other liars, with tens of millions of eyes watching. Here's the part where things go off the rails. The new fact-checking initiative on Twitter, called Community Notes, came into play when it cited GAN detection and tagged Ben Shapiro's image as generative AI. But it didn't stop there. After bragging about this publicly, with millions of views yet again, Jackson Hinkle received yet another fact check of his own, which disputed the accuracy of GAN detection methods, reversing the claim, and stating that the methods used were inaccurate. In addition, the original community note was removed from the viral post by Ben Shapiro, making the entire chain of events a multi-stage process where people were fed false information on both sides of the spectrum. In tandem, as all of this transpired in real time, again digested and propagated by millions of people, an internet troll on an infamous message board posted this image, claiming that this was the real base of the AI forgery originally posted by Shapiro, which was not a forgery. Just one problem, the image of the puppy was itself an AI fabrication, generated with just a couple clicks of his mouse, and not even really a good fabrication at that. I hope everyone can begin to see the problem here. An image of wartime atrocities got posted on social media. The authenticity of that image was disputed, citing AI fabrication. The image was then fact-checked as fake by the platform's authority system, Community Notes, after a viral accusation from a political rival. After that dispute, people chime in with more fabricated imagery as if it were the original, and then the authority reverses itself, claiming that the image is actually real and undermining the dispute. What we see in no uncertain terms here is the concept of AI infiltrating and degrading the ability for people online to trust what they see with their own eyes, as political rivals use that concept to undermine each other. All the while, social media verification systems become a casualty of that deception by swapping back and forth, uselessly contributing to the overall chaos. We are at, or at the very least reaching, the deepfake inflection point. So obviously I talk a lot recently about failure of trust and media credibility. What you see on social media is often fabricated for views deliberately, and what you read in headlines can be ideologically biased. What can be done? Well, one thing I personally use for research is called Ground News. Ground News is an independent app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you get the full story. It took me like 6 months continuously to vet them as a sponsor, and having done that, especially seeing the state of the modern world and media frenzy that geopolitics has now created, I'm happy I did. There's been a tremendous amount of coverage and dispute regarding an explosion at the Al Ali Arab Hospital in Gaza. Media outlets have been rushing to report first, publishing headlines that were later altered and generally contributing to the fog of war in a way that's getting very difficult to parse. As you clearly saw from the New York Times, along with many other news outlets, their goal is to prioritize speed and profit over responsible journalism. So how do we navigate these sensationalized headlines to uncover the actual truth? On their homepage, Ground News presents a timeline of most recent events happening around the conflict, illustrating how media coverage varies depending on source bias. Let's use the first example of the event to take a deeper look into how various sources are framing it. There's over 300 articles covering this one event, with the bias distribution showing that 43% of the coverage comes from the center. These ratings are based on ongoing assessments from 3 different news monitoring organizations. I checked those out too. And parsing those 300 plus sources is overwhelming, so that's where the comparison tool comes in. The left emphasizes high death toll caused by Israel, while the right contrasts the responsibility for deaths with Hamas militants. If I want to analyze the different headlines and cross-check their factuality, political affiliation, and ownership bias, I can also easily do that. For instance, The Journal, on the left, has mixed factuality, stating it was an Israeli airstrike. In contrast, BBC News, tagged with high factuality and owned by the government, provides a seemingly much more objective view here without assigning blame. Whereas the Epoch Times, with low factuality leaning right, accuses the Palestinian terror group. Same story, 3 entirely different ways of presenting that information, especially in the title, which then skews perception for readers. Ground News has become an important tool in my research, and that's why I'm excited to have them on as a continuing sponsor of this channel. They are independent, subscriber supported, that's important, and I highly encourage you to check it out. Go to ground.news/echelon with the link down below to get 30% off unlimited access. Again, ground.news/echelon for 30% off unlimited access. Big thank you to them for sponsoring the channel. Sticking with that very same example, it actually perfectly demonstrates the problem this entire video is about. See, the issue of trust extends to almost every corner of modern online information. In the immediate aftermath of that very same attack we just discussed, with wildly differing politicized headlines that changed over time, the Israeli ambassador to the United States and the official verified Israeli government profile shared a set of videos purportedly showing footage of the event itself. Just one problem. These 2 official channels subsequently deleted those videos, editing them out of the posts because at least one of them, there were 3, could not have possibly been accurate based on the timestamps. As if that weren't already very significant, one of the main initial reports of what had happened came from a profile belonging to Hanyana Naftali. This report claimed Israel was responsible for the event, and Hanyana Naftali is on record himself claiming that the Prime Minister called him up to work on a digital warfare task force. That initial claim was later deleted rather quickly, meaning that the entire narrative surrounding this particular explosion radically changed multiple times over the span of hours, completely reversing when compared to initial reports, subsequently leading to mass confusion. We are witnessing wartime propaganda on a scale that few in our lifetime have ever seen, in an environment where the tools to exacerbate the underlying problem of distrust are only getting better. See, the problem of contradicting information is omnipresent at all levels of authority. The White House even had to walk back claims made by the President of the United States about what he did or did not see with his own eyes. And while that kind of error, if you want to call it that, is not a novel occurrence, it further undermines public trust. Up till now, I've focused predominantly on the conflict in Israel, but the age of deception will touch every facet of our lives. To explain this, however, I have to pivot here and talk about shazupan. Shazupan, for those that don't know, is a term that means the pig butchering and primarily references organized, probably more so industrialized romance cons. I have an entire video dedicated to this subject alone, which I'll link down below in the description, one where I actually take action against a few of them. But the basic summary is that there is an entire corporate structure, mostly saturated in Asia, but bleeding over to the West more and more. There is an entire corporate structure dedicated to the process of romantic approach and then bleeding the target dry financially. They use shell companies, crypto exchanges, and fake smartphone applications with detailed scripts and psychological techniques, being taught at scale to all of their workers. They have customized profiles, standard approach methods, And the problem even goes so far as to use legitimate pictures and information from actual dating website users and profiles, obtained via data sharing agreements and then sold through darknet data brokers. Again, I looked at all this far more in depth in its own video. How does it tie back in? This is how. See, up till now, the bottleneck has been visual verification. These organized crime syndicates would do custom photo shoots with real girls at legitimate locations worldwide if need be, using every tool at their disposal to increase the efficacy of their deception. But they had to write entire scripts aimed at avoiding the idea of video chats. Now, that's about to change. It hasn't changed yet, per se, but it will. Originally posted by Hirokazu Yokohara, a notable 3D artist, we can now see the crossover between generative imaging AI and future video applications. The footage eerily shows him with a towel on his head rapidly being converted to a female digital avatar. The frame rate is obviously quite slow as a result of the generative process and relative computing power, plus the images contain a lot of imperfections and inconsistencies, but in the span of 1 year, generative AI has gone from cartoonish memes with deformed faces and horribly disproportionate features to faces that are indistinguishable from reality. Not only that, but according to joint research from Lancaster University and UC Berkeley, generative adversarial networks, GAN, are able to produce human faces that are not just indistinguishable from reality for the average user, but are also, on average, more trustworthy to them as well. That is a terrifying prospect when we are, right now, closing in on the ability for someone to modify themselves however they choose through AI in real time. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. The deepfake inflection point for static images has already passed. The ensuing chaos of its entire premise is being played out on social media right in front of our eyes. But the deepfake inflection point for video is now fast approaching. However, the problem isn't born from any one individual thing. It's more so a product of environment. Media trust, institutional trust, and trust of authority in government is hitting an all-time low in the face of overwhelming political bias, while social media platforms, such as Twitter, become a monetized feeding frenzy of misinformation. At the exact same time, the ability for bad actors to create, propagate, and perfect falsified content is exponentially increasing, even so far as to where that synthetic content is sometimes viewed as more trustworthy by unsuspecting viewers. The bridge between static imagery and video conversion is being pushed forward every single day. And when you think of the applications for this technology, sure, the first impulse might be more filters on my Snapchat videos, but the horrifying reality is that we are crossing into a digital age where you quite literally cannot trust anything you see or hear online. I didn't even delve into the concept of audio AI here and its massively advancing ability to create realistic human voices or clone existing audio profiles. But the sum total of where we stand is decreasing trust as a result of increasingly accurate forgery tools. Yes, there exists a possibility that AI itself can be used to combat deceptive AI, or a possibility that media coverage will pull back from the concept of speed over accuracy, yet another growing concern with the rise of monetized social media reporting. But that kind of trade-off is uncertain at best. Our lives are increasingly devoted to consuming information online at a time when trust is decreasing more rapidly than ever before, while the ability to falsify imagery, audio, and soon video is becoming commercialized into everyone's pocket smartphone. At the same exact time, younger generations are witnessing a dampening effect on their average attention span, while consumption of media strays further and further towards reading headlines alone. In combination, all of these factors make it easier than it has ever been to deceive, while the industries benefiting from that deception are more profitable than ever. In conclusion, we are in the beginning stages of what I can only refer to as the age of deception, witnessing firsthand the various moments in time where the shift occurs from being able to trust what you see with your own eyes and what seems real to you, and being unable to trust anything because no matter how realistic it may look in any interpretation by yourself as an individual, without some form of authority to tell you it actually is real, you simply won't know. Will that authority be a competing big tech company with its own proprietary AI verification tool? Maybe, probably. Plenty of them out there trying for that very purpose. Will it be the government? Possibly. They'd certainly love for that to be the case. But our ability as an individual person to see, discern reality based on what's right there in front of us and believe is a dying creature. That's it. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links down below. Ground News is certainly a tool that helps with this kind of problem in the ways that it can. Also additional affiliate links, cybersecurity products, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching. I'll link a few more relevant videos as well, like the rise of social media scamming, an analysis on that down below in the description. But yeah, I'll cut it there. Have a nice night. Oh, and this might even become a channel slogan of sorts from here on out. Question everything.